Hey, all you music making folks out there. This is Jack Pullis coming at you with my new interview series called The Spark, where I interview musicians to uncover their turning point in their music career, aka their spark moment. And my first guest is Lee Wilson, a hardworking musician, been working at it for a long time. He's had his ups and downs. He kept pursuing his dream. He's got a song now on Spotify with over 3.5 million streams called Summertime. He also has a song called Remember to Love with 1.5 million streams on Spotify, and a newer song called A Brighter Day, which is a jam with 500,000 streams on Spotify. So without further ado, please enjoy my interview with Lee Wilson. The Spark. What's
Hey,
up, Lee?
hey, what's up, man?
How are you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Great, great. Thanks for joining me.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
So you're out on tour right now, huh?
Yeah, man, I am. Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Bordeaux in France. I just got back I was in Barcelona last night and I got back today. But
Oh,
I'm
nice,
I'm I'm,
nice.
I'm staying in Bordeaux during my run.
Cool, man. How's that going
Yeah.
so far?
Good, it just started. So just, getting everything still settled. Played one gig already in Bordeaux and just, getting ready to just run through the summer.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
What's your live setup looking like?
Um, well, so my music is electronic, so generally it's just me and a DJ.
Hmm.
But the other night I was backed by a band, so that was pretty awesome because I love playing with live musicians. So if it is a band, just be first of all, I travel alone, but if it is with a band in the city that I'm going to, then it'll just be probably a three-piece, so drums, keys, and bass. And if there's no band, it will probably be just me and a DJ and maybe a sax player.
Cool.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, that does
yeah,
sound
yeah.
fun with a full live band.
Yeah, it's always the best.
Are you out there with Dante? I know you had
Yeah,
a new
so
single with him, so
so Dante actually is from Berlin, so he already lives in Europe, and I actually live in Puerto Rico. I'm from Boston originally. I live in the islands. So, but yeah, he's out here. So I have some dates without him, and then we link up and start playing some dates together. So I'm super excited to. I have never
nice.
actually met. We've never actually met in
Oh,
person.
okay. All right. So you've been
Yeah,
collaborating just remotely.
exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that A
Mhm.
Brighter Day track, man, sounds so good. I'm really
Thanks,
digging
man.
that, man. It's gonna be part of my summer vibes for sure.
I
Just
love it.
keep putting
Good.
that thing
Yeah,
on.
I feel like especially artists and musicians can definitely relate to the
Yeah,
lyrics, and the music is just fun.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Cause I feel like that's such a common thing with musicians too, is the mental health side of things can be a struggle. And that's kind of what the thing that I was getting from that song too is just get through
Absolutely.
it. There's a brighter day ahead, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes like that's just what we need to hear, to
Yeah.
push through. So my intention is always like to try to make like fun, happy music, but also to slide in, some message in there as well. So
Yeah.
if you're really listening, then you catch it, and that's even better for everybody.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure.
Mhm.
Cool. Yeah. Well, you know, part of the main thing that I want and I'm fascinated by myself as a musician, and I feel like there's a lot of other musicians out here like me that we're kind of stuck under this 1,000 streams per song. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like on Spotify, say, like we're just trying to figure out how do I break through that? How do I get to that turning point? And so that's one thing that I definitely am fascinated by, and curious about your story of if there was that specific sort of spark moment that things changed for you. But before we get there, I'm
mhm.
thinking maybe because the context is also important to me, like and where you come from and your background in music. So if maybe we just start there.
Yes, perfect. So like I said, I'm originally from Boston, Mass. And my aunt, when I was a child, she loved to sing and she was always doing talent shows. And I would just like I would like stick to her like a sponge, just absorb everything that she did. I wanted to do. So she kind of got me into the talent show market and to singing and stuff. And then I just never let it go. I've stayed with it forever through. And then like in middle school, I had a really dedicated music teacher who heard something and believed in me, and he would push me to really take it seriously. And yeah, he was like a great mentor, and I just kind of stuck with that. And then I ended up going to school for music, and I've just never looked back pretty much from it.
Nice, nice.
Mhm.
And so how long have you been like recording music?
Yeah, so I put out my first like official project independently on my own, actually through CD Baby in 2003 or 2004, I believe. Um, I was just about to start Berklee College of Music, and I recorded it then and put it out. So that was my first project. Absolutely.
Nice, nice. And did
Yeah.
you get any traction at that point, or were you just did you see any sort of fan base start to develop, or did it take some time?
Yeah, I did because when you're starting out like in the college, right after high school, you play so many shows. Everybody plays shows, and all your friends go, and everybody goes. Your shows are always packed. At least for me, it was because we had not really much else to do, and so and it was a big deal because I was doing it like now everybody does everything independently, but I was doing it back then, and I had like CD Baby. Then you could send in CDs, so I had printed CDs, and also at that time there was still record stores around, so there was like Virgin Records, and they would do like consignment. So I also would have my CD at my local city in the store, so my record could be right next to whoever was hot at that time. So it looked so good to my friends and people who were supporting my music, that it started to gain buzz. And then I used to like just email and contact like different radio. And there was a magazine at the time. It's just online now, but it's called Vibe Magazine. It was owned by Quincy Jones, and they used to do a write up for independent artists. And I would send them stuff and just pretty much harass them. And eventually they accepted my CD, and then I got a feature in a segment they had called Free Agent, and that's a national magazine, so that was huge. And then after that, I got a request to perform on. There was a show called on BET called 106 in Park. It was like the equivalent of TRL, and but for more like urban acts. And then they had a spot for unsigned artists as well in a competition battle they would do on the show on Fridays. And after the magazine came out, someone there saw that, and then I got to go and perform live on national TV in front of millions of people. So it did build a lot of buzz, and I think a lot of that was because of the presentation of it. It looked so well that you wouldn't have known I was an independent artist if you didn't know me personally.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
rad. Now,
yeah,
do you feel like that was your turning point? Or was there something later on that that happened, a specific
yeah.
song or collaboration or anything that really felt like this is something that I can do for a career in the
Yeah,
future?
I thought that was supposed to be my like big break, my turning point. And it really wasn't. I had like some meetings with labels, but nothing ever really happened. And then for years I went after that, kind of trying to chase like a record deal and chasing, trying to change my sound to fit whatever any A&R would tell me. That whole game, trying to
Yeah.
be famous. And then around 2015, I was just kind of like exhausted, burnt out by that. And so I was just kind of like, I didn't want to do any music. And then I was living in New York at the time. And this is my turning point came. I had a friend of mine named Kelvin Sylvester. He's a DJ. And he was like, "Oh, you just come to Boston, come to my studio. I want you to try singing over dance music." And I wasn't really looking like forward to that. I was still trying to like chase R&B and pop dream. Anyways, long story short, I went to Boston, went to a studio, and it was like Boston. I don't know if you know Boston, but the winters are crazy. And we got snowed in his studio for like a week. And so we just recorded all these tracks, and we put a nice demo together. And then when he sent it, because he knew dance music, to Kenny Dope, and Kenny Dope is like legendary house DJ for Masters at Work. They've done everybody from Janet to, Martha Wash to the list goes on. Madonna, everybody. And Kenny heard the record, loved my voice, and decided to sign one of the songs on a demo and release it on his label. And so he introduced me to the dance world. So that was my turning point, 2016. And I've just never turned back from doing dance music. I've just gone full steam ahead.
Wow, cool. Kind of
Yeah.
lucked out with that snow then, huh? Got snowed in and had
Yeah,
to
man. Good old
had to
Boston.
nice, nice. That's amazing, man. And so so that was your turning point. So was there a specific song that really was the one that either caught Kenny Dope's attention, or one that your fans really latched onto that started getting a bunch of recognition, or was it just
Yeah.
that stack of songs in general?
Yeah, so it was like that situation was another great lesson, and I hope all the artists that are listening. I thought that just like when I did the 106 in Park and Vibe magazine, I thought that that was going to be my big break. When we did the record with Kenny Dope, because he has such an incredible career and fan base, I thought that was going to be my big break, and skip the line and get in quicker. But it was another lesson that it wasn't. It was a great experience. It was great to get introduced, but my break when I started getting like crazy streams, if that's what you mean, is it was like a year or two later, and it was a record that I did with an artist from France, from Paris, named Alistair Lane. This record called that I wrote with him called Harlem Groove, and we released that on can't think of the label right now, but it's another huge label for House World, and we released that, and then Austin Kramer, who used to be the editor at Spotify for electronic and dance, loved the record, and he put my face on the cover of. They had a Friday Crate Diggers on Spotify, so it was like New Music Friday, but it was for dance music. And he put my face on the cover, and he put the song number one on that playlist, and that playlist has like over 200,000 or so streams. And so when I got into that universe, that's when I started getting the streams went crazy. First of all, and fan base started growing, followers started growing, and then when my follow-up records after that, then I was on the radar of the editorial people, and then so that was kind of the break. Harlem Groove, that record, and from there I just. But the story from that, the lesson from that was that there's no one label or famous DJ that's gonna take me to that level. Me and Alistair, two unknowns, we had to do it ourselves as far as making a great record and shooting it and hoping that someone would hear it and like it. And then Austin, gave us that chance.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you do anything to get in front of Austin Kramer, like reach out or anything, or just he just happened to come across it?
Yes, I had no idea who he was. Sometimes, I'm sure you have your music out there too on Spotify, but sometimes it's really hard to know who that person in charge of the playlist is. So I had no idea. We would just make good music, but it was on a label called, I remember now, Nervous Records. And so they're a legendary record label for house music. So I'm sure maybe someone on their side, or just because it was on that label, maybe asked him, maybe he listened to it because he saw that name, or they sent it to him. I've never really asked him, and I've chatted with him because we've done stuff together after that. But I'm pretty sure that did play a part.
Yeah.
But I didn't know him. I didn't have a direct connection or line to him. I didn't send it to him. It was, maybe we just got lucky on that.
Yeah, so it might have been just a networking thing that you didn't even know about, which is also another lesson here, right? Like you're collaborating, you're networking, you also what's what's cool, and I think an important lesson for even myself is
Mhm.
keep going. Even if you think something's your break and it's not, you even
Mhm.
mentioned yourself, you almost didn't, or there was a moment where you didn't want to do music anymore. What got you through that?
Yeah, I was so, I was chasing. I was making good music, but then at some point I started chasing, you need a record deal. I started chasing it. Instead of realizing, wow, I just got the magazine on my own. I got the TV show on my own without a label. I put the record out on my own, but I was still chasing, that dream. It has to look this certain way. And so many of the people that I was going to for advice, a lot of A&Rs don't really know anything. They just kind of follow trends. And so they were all telling me different things. And then I was going back and trying to change my sound to fit what I thought that they would want. And when I would do that, then they still wouldn't sign me or anything. So it was just like a little game that I was playing when they were playing with me. And so I had got burnt out. And I think when my friend, the change for me was when my friend invited me, when Kelvin invited me to do house music, I didn't feel like I had anything to lose. And I was just making records for fun. And that kind of is how I started making music. I didn't start making music to get records. I started making because I love it and it's in me. So when I was doing the house, I guess you could probably hear the energy that I was putting on those records because I didn't really think anything was gonna happen with those records. And I didn't really care. I was just having fun. I didn't have to try to write a certain lyric or catchy lyric to be whatever's on the charts. I didn't have to format the structure of the song, you know, intro, chorus, break. I didn't have to do all that. I could just do whatever. I could sing the same lyric over and over. Whatever I wanted to do, there was no pressure. And I think I started having fun again. And then when I saw, oh, people like it and they listen to it and no one's trying to make me change and do this, they're just accepting the music. That was all I needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it does happen that way where when you start having fun, that creativity sparks a bit and
Mm-hmm.
that authenticity comes through, and I think that's
Yeah,
probably when people start to connect with the music too, because you were trying to be something that you maybe necessarily weren't prior
absolutely,
to that,
100%.
and then you were just being yourself. So I guess all those
Absolutely.
recommendations to be authentic actually are a good. It's a good. It's a good recommendation.
It really
Um,
is. And I still catch myself sometimes, sometimes, like, for example, you get traction on something, we have this thing, um, want to try to do it again. Like when I got that playlist and that my face was on the cover, I'm like, oh, well, what are we, you're trying to figure out what did I do? You're trying to do it again. And then I have to catch myself sometime from going back to chasing, because then you'll just be disappointed. So I don't want to make it sound like, oh, I figured it out and it still happens and I still have to reel myself back in and get back to the music and get back to the focus and not look outside of myself for someone to come in and make this dream come true, because that's just, I think, a fantasy. If anything, it
right.
will be a partnership, but it's not going to be kind of like what we grew up looking at and being told, as far as like.
Like you have to be fully famous or else you can't be a musician,
Yeah,
right?
you just
That's
have to,
kind
yeah,
of there's so many different ways to be successful as a musician now, And I was
yeah,
looking
man.
at some of your stuff, and I noticed that you have several different types of income too. If you do you mind me asking what is for one, do you do music full time? And what's your main sources of income? Because I noticed you're on Sound Better and other areas that you might be like selling your talent to
Mhm.
collaborate with others. Do
Yeah.
you mind sharing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I do music full time. I've been doing music full time now since, I believe, 2017.
It's
Um,
amazing.
and I mean, how I've done it is just uh, when I when I realized that I was gonna do house and I wanted to start touring, I um I wanted to learn how to travel. So I went and I started working at a hostel. And I was like meeting people from all around the world, and I was just learning about different countries and just learning how to interact with people from different places. And then I started studying a podcast at the time called Optimal Living Daily, and it's about, like, they teach you how to live as like a minimalist, and it's like some spiritual stuff. And so I started like selling all this like junk I had, like, stuff that I had been storing up for years. Because one of my pet peeves is when I travel, I hate having luggage and so much stuff or moving. So I started like, getting rid of all my stuff and just keeping what I absolutely needed. And I started learning how to travel. And then I just decided, okay, I'm going to start collaborating as much as possible with people in places I actually want to go visit, hoping that if we get a good record together, I can get some traction in that city or that country, and then I can go and perform with that person. That's been kind of my thing. Um, and because it is dance music and I don't play, I do write and I arrange all the vocals and stuff, but a lot of the music is coming from my collaborators. So it's a great way for me to work with other people too. into exchange fan bases. So how I usually generate money that way is someone will hit me up to write a song for them to collaborate. Some people, and then I'll have a fee or I'll charge. They'll either contact me directly, or maybe some people will find me on Sound Better. I can maybe once in a while have a great streaming month, or more than a month actually. It takes a lot longer, but some good streams. I will maybe add some extra money, and then that's pretty much it. Is a lot of my client the funding and stuff comes through just collaborators putting out good music, and then people calling me because they want what I did on a particular record.
Right, right. And how do you typically reach out and start a collaboration? Do you just email
Um,
people or
yeah, IG. I mean, first of all, I listen to a lot of music, not just my own music, so that's important.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
if I hear something that I like, I share it. I support I do what I want people to do when they hear my music first. Before I reach out to someone and say, "Hey, can you work with me?" I learn a little bit about the artist and I see where they're from and their streams, and I check if they're doing it independently or if they're on a major label. And then I'll check out their IG, and if I feel like it's a good fit, I'll shoot my shot. I'll just send a message. Sometimes people get back to you, sometimes they don't, and I'll send a message. Hey, I really like. I'll tag them in when I share their song first of all, because I always want an artist to know that I am supporting them, not just trying to get something. And then I'll send a message and say, hey, I really like your record. I think that we could do something really cool together. This is a link to check out my music. If you're interested, just let me know. And that's it. And if they get back to me, and if it works out, perfect. And then a lot of times people will hit me up to hire me for a record to collaborate on, and I make sure that it's even before I would take anybody's money, I make sure it's a record that first of all I want my name on, and second that I can actually deliver. Sometimes I need the money, but the music is garbage, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to fake it on this record, because it's not good. So I'd rather say no to a record that I can't put my Lee Wilson sound on than to take it for
Mhm.
the money. So that's important to me too, is that because I want the record to work, I want to promote it as well.
Right, right, yeah, totally. Yeah, I think that's important too, like, we're not competitors in the music industry, right? We're all in this together, so it's cool that you're supporting them first, and that kinda shows them initially, like, you care, versus, like, it's not
Mhm.
all just for you. You want
Yeah,
this to be a equal partnership, and you're supporting them, and they'll support you, and I think that's also another good lesson there.
yeah. Because a lot of people
Um
think you see someone with a lot of streams and you want to work with them, hoping that you'll get those streams, but it really doesn't work that way either. Because I've worked with some DJs that have there's a group called from New York who I love, Black Caviar, and we did a record together, and it has like over 1 million. They have over 1 million like monthly listeners, and we did the record, and the record did great, but it didn't do as good as some of the records I put out on my own, like A Brighter Day or like Summertime that I put out independently. And these
Mhm.
guys have a huge following, so I want people to understand that you do want to make sure you work with people you genuinely like, because there's no instant boom, you work with this person, now you have 1 million monthly listeners. Also, you still have to do a lot of the work.
Right, right, there's no guarantee no matter who
Not at
you're
all.
working with.
No.
Yeah. Now do you feel like that is, just based on the song itself and how people are reacting to it? Would that be the assumption, like, A Brighter Day and Summertime, they just had something about it that a lot of people connected to, so you got a lot of streams? Or do you think there's something else to do with that?
I really, I wish I knew the secret. I really
Yeah.
don't. 'Cause sometimes it's a record that I think it's so good, and then no one hears it. But um, I also think it's very important to not to take the music think outside of just Spotify, because a lot of us we're really caught into Spotify right now. I'm checking those numbers, but there's also people listening on Apple Music. There's people listening on Amazon. There's people listening on YouTube and SoundCloud. There's so many different places, and I think sometimes, well, I'll speak for myself. Sometimes I think if a record doesn't do good on Spotify, then that it's a failure. But then yeah, I can do a show and that's the record people love. And I'm like, well, where are you listening? Because I didn't think anybody was listening. So it's really important to know that people are listening in other places. And we get so caught up in numbers these days because people tell us numbers are so that important. And they are important because I've had certain opportunities because of that. But it is important to know that people are listening in other ways as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's more dispersed than ever, probably, right? I mean, there's just so many different places that you can consume music. I do a lot of YouTube at night, like YouTube's a big one too.
Yeah,
So, I
I'm
mean,
getting
it's
more into
just,
YouTube.
yeah, for sure. That's cool, man. So on the other side of it though, because you mentioned that sometimes collaborations don't get you those million streams that you thought, but have you felt like that has been a good source of exposure though, doing multiple different collaborations and getting in front of those other audiences?
Oh, absolutely. Music is so much better when you make it with other people. I highly recommend to everybody collaborate, 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 collaborate as much as possible. Because it just brings out a different side of you. It brings out new music, and it's just so great to be able to be. If I'm in Puerto Rico or if I'm in Bordeaux, then I'm working with someone who's in Japan. I'm working with someone. It's just so amazing that how we can work together. I think collaborations are everything. I don't think I would be finding the success that I'm finding now if I wasn't collaborating. Because it's like when you collaborate with someone, it's two of you promoting you. You're promoting
Right.
someone else, your base, and they're promoting you. It's a win-win as long as you're doing it sincerely and you're making good music. But it's the best thing in the world. I mean, I highly, highly recommend it. And everybody should collaborate, even if you're a musician, you're just playing on someone's track, in the background. I've had horn players play on my tracks, and they might not get like a main feature on it, but they're on it. I mean, if you can collaborate in any way, I think it's amazing. And I collaborate in other ways too. I might recommend a singer for a project if I don't want to do it or if I can't do it, or I might recommend a producer. So that's also collaborating. So, when you put people together, that's a collaboration as well, even if you're in the background. And people notice that and appreciate that, and it comes back.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that because I have been making music all by myself. And so I need to start
Mhm.
doing that. I need
Yes,
to
I
start
highly recommend
collaborating,
it.
man. And I know, and it's fun. I mean, I've done it in the past,
Mhm.
but
And you're a
yeah, it's so
writer,
much.
so I mean, it's so you write and play. So I mean, you have
Right.
the best of both. I mean, remix someone's song, collaborate. There's so many ways that I wish I played because then you can collaborate a lot easier, I think, than I can.
Well, so remix is another interesting thing that you just mentioned. Have you
Mhm.
seen any success with people remixing your tracks or?
Absolutely. I mean, some of my songs, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 versions. It's a
Mhm.
great way to keep a song alive. It's a great way to turn a collaboration into another collaboration. It's just a great way to switch up your live show and be able to perform different versions of it. I mean, it's just a great way to, if you put out a song and you feel like, oh, it didn't do well, then you have another chance to put it out again, and let
Mhm.
someone else add their flavor to it. It's such an amazing way to keep the collaborations going and also to re-release that song that you feel really strongly about and maybe make it better the next time.
Yeah, totally. And it's just amazing when you do collaborate with people like that or even just regular instrument players.
Mhm.
They get outside of your head because they bring something that you would never expect sometimes,
Absolutely.
right? And then it just creates some sort of magic. I love
And you can
that.
even switch. And you can even switch genres sometimes with a remix. Like if we did something together,
Yes.
you would have maybe we'll go in more your genre, and then maybe that's gonna open up a whole nother market and opportunities. I've done like stripped down versions. I've done like R&B versions. Go back to my roots and do stuff like that, just for fun, even if it gets noticed or not. But it's such a great way to maybe get on I can take a song like Brighter Day. I have a stripped down version of that. Maybe it'll get on a coffee playlist or something. So there's so many different ways to make a song new again, to stretch it out
Mhm. Yeah, for
by doing
sure.
remixes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, to go back to A Brighter Day too, and that whole mental health thing, do you have I
Mhm.
mean, I assume that you've had, just like most musicians, some everyone struggles sometimes with mental
Hmm.
health, but do you have any routines or anything that keeps you motivated to keep going with your music, or is it just that the music is things have started rolling and you're just loving it, or is there anything specific that you do like on a daily basis or anything to keep you motivated?
Yeah, man, absolutely. My routine is everything that keeps me going because as a musician, day to day is different.
Mhm.
It could be good, it could be great, it could be all bad, all that in the same hour sometimes. So for me, I've made um, I work on myself just as hard as I work on my music. So in the morning, I listen to some Tibetan bowls on a playlist. That really helps me before I get into my phone, before I even get into the emails or anything. I just like to wake up to that. Um, I listen to podcasts and Audible books, and so I listen to like Super Soul Sunday. I love that. I listen to. I just got into Jay Shetty recently. I like Michael Singer. I mean, I'm all about like getting into that, like really sustains me by listening and learning from other people, not just musicians. But I also like, to listen to musician stories and watch biographies and stuff like that. But yeah, that is just as important for me working on myself and because as a musician we're always in our head and we always face so much doubt and rejection and it's like crazy how we beat ourselves up sometimes and how we allow other people to do it too as far as we want the feedback from people instead of just standing in what we created and letting that be it.
Right.
So that is just as important to me. So I absolutely, just as I probably work on that even more than I do the music. And then that allows me to deal with the ups and downs of the music and not freak out and be like, oh my God, I have no money this week. I'm going to go work at some job that I know I'm going to hate, but at least I'll have a check every Friday. And, no, and I've done that. And so it's a huge part. And now my goal this year, when I've made it my intention to create the music I'm creating, but also to make sure that I'm sharing a message in my music. So I'm trying to be of service with my music now, and not just trying to make a hit record. You can do both, and so I found that I can do both with records like A Brighter Day and some other records. And that's my mission now is to kind of lift people up while also allowing you to dance.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Mhm.
Does that take you longer than to write the lyrics because you are trying to be more intentional with them, or
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
No, not at all, because I live
Oh, it
it,
doesn't. Okay, okay.
Yeah, no, it comes even easier now
Oh, great.
because it's something that I'm living daily and something that I'm working on intentionally daily. So it's always on my mind. So it's
Mm.
easy for me to just I pretty much write songs for myself that help me and I hope that in return I try to write it as general as possible so that it could be for you, it could be for anyone. But because it's something that I believe and feel sincere about, it's even easier to write now. I'm not trying to write something that I'm not trying to follow a trend or to write, a catchy lyric or the latest slang or anything. I'm just writing, stuff that I will be saying to myself anyway. I guess some of the best songs that we love from some musicians are when they were sharing their personal truth. So it's a win-win, and then it also allows me to keep working on mental health and working on my wellness because I have to sing these songs live now, and I have to live it. I have to remind myself to live it, and when I get lost or when I fall off track, or I can bring myself back with my own records. Pretty badass.
Mhm, mhm. So after your big sort of turning point moment, I know you were saying you were sometimes will be kind of chasing the same thing that you saw success in before, but
Hmm.
other than those moments of chasing that, have you is there anything specific that you've noticed that's kind of kept your momentum going, or anything that you followed that up with that was successful that you were able to build on that initial success?
Yeah, I think what works for me is just like the amount of music I put out. Like I'm not worried about oversaturating. I create and I put it out, and then I put out music on my own label, and then I'm working with other people, so they're putting out music that I'm featured on. So for me, I think it's the amount of music, and sometimes we worry, oh, it's too much music, but not everybody's listening to every song, or you discover new people discover records different ways. So for me, I think it's just being consistent, and what I'm really focusing on now is trying to get off of just platforms and get more into live shows, because at the end of the day, I'm a musician. I want to play live. I don't want just streams. I want bodies in the venue. And I think that if we get, I've been caught up in focusing on the streaming so much and getting my music out there, but now I have so much out there. Now I want to really get back to focusing and making a real connection with the fans, so that we can share with each other live and not just in somebody's headphones. I want you to hear me in person. So consistency is what really helped me. But I think now what's motivating me to get to the next level is to be visible, to be out there working, collaborating live.
And there's no feeling like playing live.
Nothing at all.
There's an extra connection there. You're seeing their faces. You're seeing them dance. You're dancing
Nothing
with
else.
them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you always have like like an email list thing, or like how do you connect with fans at the show? Do you have a merch table and stuff like that?
I just started doing merch, but I just do it online. So I haven't tried it actually in a live store, like a live show yet, but it's in the works. But it can get expensive, so I just been doing like order based, like, well, but I do want to. That's on the list. And to be honest, I'm awful. Like, back in the day, I used to have the mailing list at the shows, and I was really good about email. But I find, and I don't know if it's my genre or if I'm just lazy, but I just feel like people aren't really into the emailing list from what I do, not the way they used to be when I was doing different kind of music and playing out more. I think people really gravitate towards my socials, and I know that's dangerous, because if like a social shuts down, and I've learned it on the podcast a lot, then you're screwed. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that, but I think I don't even look at mailing lists when people subscribe me to lists, to be honest, anymore. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't. I'm not interested, and even the people I follow, like I'm not big fans of. I don't read them. I go to their IG. I look for their
Mm-hmm.
what's the next gig. What do you post? I check their Twitter. I check other things. But I don't know. It's not extinct. I know it's important. I know people do it. I just haven't brought it back yet.
Yeah.
So I need to figure that out, because I do, like, I want to, like I told you earlier, I want to make a better connection with the fans, but I look at where they reach out to me, and most of them reach out to me on socials. Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
really emailing me unless it's to book me for work.
Do you try to respond to all
Are you still
messages on
using it?
social? Still using mailing list?
Yeah. Like, how does it work for
Um,
you?
I don't really. I mean, I'm still that guy that has less than 1,000 streams per song, and I just
Mhm.
the interesting thing that I thought was cool that you're saying is you felt like there's no putting out too much music. I have
Mhm.
the struggle of getting music done, and again, because I'm doing it all myself, I need to collaborate. But
Mhm.
so no, I don't really have many people on my email list. I do have, I believe, on my site right now, a way to sign up, but I mean, I just don't have a lot of people going there. And I haven't been
Mhm.
playing live shows because I make everything myself and layer it. I don't know how to do a live show yet, but that is in the works, and I'm trying to figure that out.
Awesome.
Um,
Are you
but
perfectionist?
what's that?
Are you perfectionist?
I'm trying not to be.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife and I came up with this saying "Jerk Rabbit don't care" because Jerk Rabbit's the name that I use for music. And I'm
Okay.
just I try to keep that in mind. I don't meaning like I shouldn't care too much. Don't make everything precious. Just put
Mhm.
things out. If you like it yourself, if it sounds good to you, then put it out there. And I think
Yeah.
you're right. There's no putting out too much music, and you don't ever want to say quantity over quality, right? You still want quality, but
Absolutely.
I even read this at this I'm not sure where I read this, so don't quote me on this like as actual statistic, but I read that the average artist before they kind of hit that turning point, that song that kind of that you were talking about,
Hmm.
32 songs it takes
Wow.
on average. Put out
Yeah.
32 song on that 30-second song or something like that. And even though I don't know if that's what the study was, but that I'm not surprised. You know, it really is a lot of a numbers game, and so putting out music and actually releasing things is a big part of it.
Yeah. You know what? And also that turning point that we talk about, it comes and goes. I've had several of them, you know. I've had the first one was with, like I told you, that record Harlem Groove, and then that went away. And then I had it again with Summertime, which I put out on my own, and then that was my first million. And now it's like over three. And then I could go quiet for a while. I'm still putting out music, but maybe it's not getting recognized on any major playlists. And then boom, another one will happen, but then it will go away. So those, even though you have those points, you might have many. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
people should
Mm-hmm.
be careful of as well. So if you get one, you think that's it, and then once they take it off a playlist, sometimes, and you're like, oh, what happened? So you got to find other ways other than like the playlist, to really, which is what I do. Is just I go and collaborate with more people, and I'll go and find a show to collaborate with someone on. It's something like that. But I mean, that I just want people to think that if they land one, then that's it, because it's like it can come and then it can go, and then the next couple songs can get ignored, and then all of a sudden when you forget about it, then boom, another one. So it's
Yeah,
really
you just got to
important
keep
to
working at it. Yeah.
keep
Well,
putting
let's
out
talk
stuff.
about.
Yeah.
Can we talk about real quick Summertime then? Your first million, now it's 3 million.
Mhm.
What's the story behind that one?
It came from like a super sincere place. I was with my piano player. A lot of times I'll write the bass of a record with my piano player, Jake Lim, and then we'll shop it to someone to produce it, like collaborate with, and a DJ or someone who produces dance music to put it out. But it was just a fun record that I wanted. We were in Boston when we did it. It was winter, and we were like angry because it was cold. And I was like, let's just make a record that is gonna transport us to summer. It was just a fun record. I did only one verse. I didn't do two verses, so I was like changing the structure, just being free with it, having fun. And we did it. Then I sent it to a friend of mine named John Paul Lakes, who's from Honduras. But we met when we went to school at Berkeley together, but we hadn't spoken in years. And I was just like, I think he would be good for this. And I hit him up, and he produced it, and then signed it up to see maybe and put it out, not thinking anything. We knew it was a great record. We knew it was super catchy. We knew it was fun. We knew that it was a summer feeling, which is what I wanted. And then it just got on a couple of playlists. It got on Happy Beats, which is a playlist that I get on pretty often, which I love. And it just has that happy feeling like A Brighter Day does, but maybe not such a deep message, but it still has that energy that makes you feel good. And then that one just took off, and it still does really well. Even though it's not on any major playlist now, it still has it still gets like reinvented, because you write a record called Summertime, every summer is going to get a boost. So that was a little strategic, but it's a great record. Everybody's always looking for a record in the summer for a playlist.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's also a very common theme in sync licensing too. Have you had any songs synced?
Man, I haven't, and my music is so perfect for sync.
It's so
I'm
syncable. Oh my
totally lost
gosh,
in
it's so good.
I'm so lost in that world. I mean, I probably am leaving so much money on the table, I'm sure. And I've listened to podcasts on sync, and I've listened to, the DIY podcast. I've listened to Ari's take. I've listened to so many. I just don't understand that world, how it works. It's like I haven't gotten into that door yet, and maybe I haven't put enough energy and intention into it. But I would love to. I would love,
Hmm.
love, love, because I could probably you could make some really good money from sync. And the records that I write are not intentionally that way, but they really work well for. They would work well for sync.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just imagining it in a summer commercial,
Yeah,
A Brighter Day,
I'll
for
take a Target
example.
commercial. That would be amazing.
Um, Yeah, we were emailing about that before, and
Yeah.
yes, sync is a really good opportunity. And I haven't gotten any sync placements myself, but I've done a lot of
Mhm.
research and reading on it, and having a sync licensing agent, they'll take usually like half, I think, or so,
Mhm.
of your placement, but they're the ones that have the connections, right? And a lot of
Absolutely.
music supervisors are typically the gatekeepers there, and they're not going to open emails from random people because they have those connections of those people that work for these agencies,
Mhm.
and then they kind of go through them, and so
Yeah.
um, that's just one thought I have on that. Is it's a lot more difficult to do it on your own and reach out, and like DMing them on Instagram and stuff, because a lot of times they won't open those. So even
Of
though
course.
it feels like, oh, they're taking half, but half of a lot is better than all of nothing,
Half of
right?
nothing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And I'm
So
totally with you on that. I don't. I'm not fussy when it comes to sharing. Even with other artists that I work with, as far as splits and stuff, because I'm just gonna make another record anyway. So I think a lot of people get caught up in that they never even put out a record because everybody's fighting over money that
yeah,
hasn't even been made yet. So it's like,
yeah,
um,
and historically, like, really famous bands have broken up because they like, the lead singer got more cut than the rest of the band, and that caused
mhm,
animosity, you know what I mean? And I was actually just listening
yeah,
to a podcast of the Imagine Dragons singer, and he was saying that they all evenly split the money, and there's just they're everyone's very happy. It's like,
they
so
figured it
maybe
out.
another lesson is be generous with
Yeah,
just like you were sharing other people's music before you collaborate them. Just,
absolutely.
be
Even people I
generous
don't reach out
too.
to work with, I share music because I love music. And if you want people to share your music, you have to share people's music. It's like it just makes sense. Like why
Yeah,
wouldn't you if you like it?
exactly.
Like
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Now, are you hitting TikTok hard like a lot of other musicians, or what's your social? Do you have a social media sort of strategy, or are you just putting stuff out there?
yeah, nope, it's just big old mess. I just
Same here.
um TikTok, I haven't really figured it out yet. I feel like I will put more this summer while I'm touring because it will be like live clips. Because I
Hmm.
feel like my live show, me singing using my gift live, gets the most impressions, gets the most interaction, period. And that's what I want it to be. You're not gonna see me doing a dance challenge or falling down on purpose in public, in front of a train to get a laugh.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Right.
it's just not gonna work. But I love people. I love to sing. I'm a great live performer. My shows are very interactive with the audience. So I posted one from Bordeaux from the other day. I'll be posting more. And with Dante, we'll be putting a lot more content together that's performance, because that's what we do. And I'm gonna stick to what I know. And I'm not get caught up like we was talking about record labels earlier, chasing that thing or chasing that magical TikTok all of a sudden, overnight. And a lot of those stories aren't really sincere. So
Hmm.
I will get more into it this summer, but it will be performance. It won't be, it won't be following any trend. It would just be something that you can actually see if you come to a live show, something from a live show, something that shows what we do to get you to come to a live show or to stream the music. It will
For
be
sure.
focused on the talent. And it could still be fun. Dante and I have done you've seen some of the videos when he's playing and I'm singing along. Or there might be, if it's a dance video, it will be from a real dancer. I'm not a dancer. It will be from someone who they made the video dancing, and then okay, I'll show that because that's what they do. But I won't be
Hmm.
trying to do any new tricks.
Right. Yeah.
That's not my thing.
Promoting
Yeah.
promoting new albums nowadays is pretty funny on TikTok. It's like, what should I do? It's like, you don't even focus on the music. Just do something very weird and scary.
Yeah, you do that, and then people come looking for that again, and then no one's ever looking for
Right.
your music now. They're looking for you to, fall
Yeah.
out of an airplane. It's like you gotta be careful
Yeah.
with that. So
You got to just keep doing silly stuff, and then you're never even doing music anymore. Well, so what do you got? So you're on tour right now. You have anything else exciting, or what do you have to look forward to now with music?
yeah, well, so Dante and Dante Tom, who produced A Brighter Day, we have a follow up coming out June 30th called Rooftop Vibes. Super excited about that, and we've done about 2 more records. So we have a really good chemistry right now, and I'm just like we're just nurturing that and gonna keep that fire going while it's burning, you know. So I'm excited about working with him more, and I'm just when I'm in cities, what I usually do, and this is a good tip for musicians too, I always look for other musicians when I'm in a new city or country or whatever. Um, and I try to find out where the musicians are, where my people are. That's our tribe, we're musicians. So I'm always trying to be around and support other musicians. So,
Hmm.
sometimes I walk around the city. I'm a walker. I love walking everywhere. And if I see somebody playing, I might talk to that musician and see, hey, I'm new in the city. Where's all the musicians? Where's everybody playing? And then you go find an open mic, or you go it's a DJ's playing somewhere, you go see that DJ play, and people really appreciate that. Musicians, I think sometimes as artists, we forget we gotta support other artists and not just take, not just do for me. So for me, it really helps to go out and support other artists the way I want them to support me. And in return, for example, in Bordeaux, I met this kid. I saw him performing on the street. He was so good. And then he invited me to his open mic, and then I went to that, and then I met all these other musicians, and now I'm gonna collaborate and put him on a song. And he's a rapper, and he raps in French. And now I'm gonna remix one of my records and have him on there, And now I'm gonna open up that French market. Something I don't speak French, so he's gonna reach fans that maybe I didn't reach. So it's like the little natural things like that you can do without money, that you can do in your own city where you live. I think those things are really important, and they inspire me to keep being creative as well.
Yeah, because a lot of musicians are going to just do it because they love it too. You don't have to necessarily
Mhm.
pay them, right?
Yeah,
Um,
be honest. Yeah,
so
if you're giving a service to someone, they're giving it back to you. Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
yeah, awesome. Well, this has been a really great. I really enjoyed this interview, man. I appreciate you coming on
Thank you,
here.
man.
Um, you know, just for any musicians out there listening, just like Lee was saying, you got to support your other musicians. So support Lee. He's got a beautiful voice. His music is
Thank
super
you.
fun.
Mhm.
Um, do you want to just tell people where to find you?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. This is so fun. And it's so funny that you hit me up when you did, because I was like, this is one of the things on my list as well, is that I want to start, having this kind of exchange with people, and because I really love podcasts and I love listening and learning from people. And sometimes you want people who are going to be honest in those podcasts and really give people, musicians, I really listen like for tips and ways to grow. So I appreciate you for doing this podcast and for inviting me as well.
Right on.
And for anybody out there who wants to follow me, it's just Lee Wilson Music on IG, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Spotify. It's Lee Wilson. On any music platform, it's just Lee Wilson. And feel free to hit me up. I'm an open book. I don't mind if you have questions or you need advice or you want tips or you want to collaborate. Um, I try to answer everybody and give you my honest experience, how I've lived it. And if it can help you, then perfect. I'm all about that, exchanging with other artists. It doesn't have to be
So
music, it could be anything.
sure, so good, man. Getting real tangible advice from real working musicians like yourself. It's just
Absolutely.
it's helpful for me too. So, just like we
Yeah,
talked about, put music out for yourself. These interviews are
mhm,
also just as much just for me.
absolutely.
But yeah, thank you again. It's been amazing, and I'm gonna keep following you and watching your journey, and
Thank you. Yeah, and
keep in touch.
email me a link to your music too. I want to hear it. And then
I will do.
I know you say you haven't put out any music out yet, but maybe until you do, collaborate with someone. So you could be featured on someone else's record, and that's gonna help get buzz for when you finally do decide to drop
Yeah,
your
well, I
record.
have released like 4 or 5.
Okay, excellent.
Um, but yes, and maybe someday we will collaborate together, Lee.
Let's do it.
Right on, man. Thanks so much, buddy.
Thanks, Jack.
Good luck out there on the road.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
Ready? See ya.
The Spark. Whoa.